Welcome back to Casuals Encounter every Monday with myself, Will at Casuals Corner MMA and Leo Cooper MMA. And today we've got a few juicy topics to get stuck into. Leo's just come back from the south of France. We had a fun card yesterday in Singapore. And we've also got UFC Paris. So let's get stuck into last night.
Yeah, why not? Where do you want to start?
Let's get stuck into last night. Let's start at the top of the tree. Let's start with the big dog, the Korean Zombie. I'll let you lead into it. What were your thoughts on the fight? And then we'll have a look at the card itself.
So I was kind of like, I was like jumping in like back and forth between watching it because I was on my way to the airport when when the main event was lining up, and I was realizing as the fights were going on, I was like, damn, I might miss this. But I was like, had it on in the Uber, just on my phone. And I've got to say, from the bits I was watching, I was really impressed with Korean Zombie, and we talked about, you know, dismissing him, and you compared it to the Drickus fight and not writing people off. And I think, yeah, he definitely earned my respect there. I thought it was going to be a walkover, and you can kind of argue that because of the knockout, but I think he put on a really good showing. He caught Max quite a few times, and he went into the fire, and he was willing to go in there, get finished or get the finish. And I think that's what Zombie's all about. And it was an emotional moment, I think.
Yeah, that's the perfect way to put it. Get finished or get the finish. And that is the motto that Korean Zombie has lived and died by. And they've done a really good job with that, actually, on the broadcast yesterday in regards to just filming the Korean Zombie walking out. There was no commentary over it. Like, they just let the moment breathe, let the music play. And the moment of him just walking backstage through the tunnel and then just out into the crowd, and you see this close angle of this just blinding light, screams, this white noise just like boom hits you as he walks out. All the camera flashes and the music's going, and it just gave me chills watching it. And it was such a slow walkout. He just soaked up every second, and it's incredible because it's a really nice way, actually, to top off such an incredible career, because they never faced each other, which was kind of crazy anyway.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Yeah, the fact they never fought up to that point was
it's
kind of
almost
wild,
a shame,
really.
Isn't it? It's almost a shame that they didn't fight when they were both, particularly more so on Zombie's part, that he was when he was in his prime.
I think it was perfect.
Yeah, really. I mean, it was good as a send off. Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
If you missed the boat back then of having him Korean Zombie fight Max in his prime, I think now's the right time to do it, right? As a send-off fight, I think a lot of people I think we thought the same, that was going to be a bit of a uncomfortable bloodbath, you know, after the Volkanovski fight. And I think even though he lost and he got KO'd, it was kind of, it was the perfect send-off, as you said. Yeah, I don't have too many complaints.
I thought going into it, as good as Max is, we know for a fact that he's going to get hit. And if you're going to get hit by anyone in the featherweight division, there's not many worse people to get hit by than the Korean Zombie, because, like I said...
Understated, isn't it?
Yeah, of course, because he's happy to sit in the pocket and throw his hardest lever in exchange with yours. And he knew that's what he had to do coming into the third. And up to that point, it was not super competitive, but there were close moments. Max got caught a couple of times.
Yeah.
But I've got to say as well, again, just in regards to Max, I'd have to go back and rewatch the fight, but I was just so impressed with him again. He just didn't look like the same movement patterns or the same shifts or the same combinations that we're so used to seeing. And it's what I said before the fight. It just seems now that every time we watch Max Holloway, you're not quite sure what you're going to see. And I'm sitting there as smug as I possibly can be on live stream, because I'm sitting there with my verdict with a third round submission, I got.
I can't remember what we said on the podcast last week. I think I either said third or fourth round, and I'm praying I said third, because then I can just, you know,
I
give myself a pat on the back.
I said submission, and I said it was going to sound crazy, and I knew people were going to think it sounds weird. And then he caught him in that submission, and he choked him out. I almost want to claim the win on that prediction, because he was unconscious. I'm convinced of it. And if he wasn't, I have no idea how, because in the post-fight press conference, Max spoke about how the Korean Zombie was gargling, he was pulling down, he couldn't breathe, there was no life in his face, but he just wiggled his fingers.
What was the submission?
You didn't see it?
I saw the knockdown, and then my stream died because I was getting spotty reception on the way to the airport, so I didn't see the submission attempt
He
afterwards.
caught him in, what was it now? A Darce or an
I
Anaconda?
was guessing it
One
would have
of
been a
the
DAS because
two.
of he was on his back, right? It was sort of on his
Yeah.
side. Yeah, so
Yeah, I
I'm
think
just guessing that's what.
to be
I
honest,
have
my
not
head's
seen
still
it.
frazzled because the UFC was all backwards. But anyway, I think it was a dust, but caught him super tight. He made all the correct adjustments. It was incompletely. There was no hand fighting. There was nothing. All he was trying to do is alleviate a bit of the pressure. He was trying to scoot round to give himself a better angle. But Max just had it tight. And it was at one point, everyone just thought, right, this is done. And then I thought, is Max going to blow his arms out here? Because he's been holding on to this for so long. But it was where it was. But yeah, an incredible. What did you think of Max?
I don't. I was a little bit. Okay, I'll rephrase. It's hard to really give him. I want to give him the credit, and I am. But when you compare that, if you try and put Max from that fight in a matchup against Volkanovski, I don't think it's going to be enough, right, to really get
Mm,
that belt back. I think we know the level of Volkanovski, and I think the only thing that could be seen as a potential weakness is the age. Volkanovski's 35 now, so that drop off could come. It can just happen. That's how the sport goes. So that maybe could play in Max's favor. He has got the age on him, so
true.
that is a
It's
potential
a
route
good
to the
point.
title
It
for
is a
him.
good
But
point.
yeah, because he's got 4 years on him, and that's a
He
huge
does
amount
have
of
four
time.
years on him, but are years and mileage the same thing?
Yeah, very true. I mean, the mileage and the damage that Max has taken, and that's the point I was going to get onto, was I didn't like how much he was willing to get hit there. I think you
Mm,
can rely on your chin. It is a thing, and we know how good Max's is, but it's a dangerous game to play because eventually when you do get caught, you're going to pay the price, and no one is invincible. We're all human at the end of the day.
mm,
So he's just riding that thin line, and I worry it's going to catch up to him. And we mentioned that last week as well. There's a chance of that. So we'll see how it goes. But I'm not. I'd like to see maybe one or two fights. Again, another win here or there before he really deserves another shot. And to be honest, I think by the time he does get another shot at the title, I think we're going to have a different champion anyway. Just purely because Volkanovski might retire, maybe. I don't know. We never know how this game's going to go. So we're going to. I'm curious to see how the division really plays out. But it's. I'd need to see more from Max in terms of defensive responsibility. I think with his hands rather than relying on the chin.
I don't know. I will say, I don't know. I think that's a little bit unfair, to be honest. I think that's a little bit
Okay,
unfair because
fair enough.
he did get hit. Yes, he also did go into a fight with the Korean Zombie in his retirement fight, knowing that he needed to knock out Max Holloway in a few rounds. Pretty dangerous guy. And he's likely going to clip you at least once or twice. I don't think we saw the Max Holloway that stood in the boxing range pocket and traded extensively for multiple rounds. It happened here and there. That's Max Holloway. Glad it did, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, it's
But
entertaining. Huh?
I definitely think we saw a more patient approach. We saw an approach where he was going low and then going high. We saw him go high and then go low, mixing attacks. His output wasn't ridiculous across 3 rounds. I don't think
More
it would have been
patient.
crazy high. Much more patient,
Mm.
much more lateral movement. You could see as well that the way he was shifting into range or like shifting into that southpaw, he was really getting his head off the center line. He wasn't really there to be hit many times. Every so often, we did see those glimpses of Max Holloway where he did stay in the pocket a little bit too long and caught one to give four. But that is still Max Holloway. And I think, was he completely impenetrable to getting hit? No, but you can't walk in the rain without getting wet. But was he more defensively sound than he's ever been? I think he's definitely improving, moving more laterally. He didn't in this fight, but showing more level changes. Well, we showed the submission threat.
Yeah.
He's showing the different combinations now. He's not necessarily staying in that pocket for as long. He's going into the body a lot more. He invested into the body a lot against Korean Zombie, which I thought was super smart. And I
Yeah, I
think
like that too.
the IQ now, Max is just taken at
Offensively,
31
yeah.
years. Yeah, 31 years of
Offensively was
age.
huge.
It's crazy.
I agree. I think offensively, I love the improvements he's making. Much more diversity in not just a variety of strikes, but where he's attacking as well.
The
So
body work.
yeah, I love the body work. It's that jab as well. He throws straight to the body. I love that. It's just it is the defensive part of it, which I think is going to be the Achilles heel for him against a guy like Volkanovski until he fights them again, because he needs to. I don't want to sit here and say I'm an expert, because I'm not. And at the end of the day, we are casuals. It's in the name. But there are improvements to be made, and I'm sure Max knows that too. Because to beat a guy like
What are they?
Volkanovski, I can't tell you. That's what I'm saying. But I think it's.
I want to know what they are.
I
If
mean,
you're going to tell me he needs improvements, I want to know what the improvements
It's just
are.
relying on the chin. I don't
I don't think he's doing
like
that.
enough on that.
This is my point.
You don't think so?
No.
I'm willing to
I
disagree with you here.
I think he's knowing in the back of his head that he's got that in his pocket, and sometimes he reverts a little bit more to his old self. But his last couple of fights, at least,
I think the Allen performance was a lot better.
The Allen performance really shifted my mindset, because it looked like he shifted his mindset to, you know what, I actually still want to be a champion. I want to do great things, and I can't take as many shots anymore. He does spar more sensibly, or train more sensibly, I should say, and then he does fight more sensibly. And we all get smarter and wiser with age. He came into the UFC about 18, 19 years old.
Crazy.
As just a young Hawaiian kid on the big stage, and he's getting into fun fights, taking a few shots, giving a few shots, making a big name, doing crazy things. Who's not to say that he's just actually matured a bit, grown up a little bit, and thought, you know what, I've got a kid now, I'm getting a little bit older, I need to take less shots, fight more sensibly. Andrei Arlovski, perfect example. 40 years of age in the heavyweight division, completely re-engineered his style into something much smarter that we wouldn't have seen before. Now, yes, we have the identity of old Max Holloway, but maybe this is the subtle shift, and I quite possibly believe it is, because I believe Max Holloway's ambitions are higher than his ego to fight a certain way. And he's so talented and beloved, he can fight anyway. And the way he's doing it at the moment is one of my favourite Max Holloways we've ever seen.
Yeah, I think I have to make a point that it's not a criticism in the sense that.
About that?
No, because I'm kind of with you, because when my point of criticism doesn't come from the sense that Max Holloway is getting worse. I think he's improving massively. I think it's just the guy ahead of him is Volkanovski.
Yeah,
you know, it's the best guy ever. Well, I mean, right now.
No,
ever's the wrong word. But there's a good chance he could be ever.
At featherweight, of course.
At featherweight, of course, yeah.
So it's in the landscape of the weight class.
And in my eyes, he's the pound for pound number one. And he is. There's no harder challenge there's going to be, really, for Max. So to really overcome that, he's got to be the best everywhere. So there's more improvements to be made, and I know Max is going to be working on that. So, and as you said, we are seeing a shift into a sort of 2.0 Andrei Arlovski-esque sort of evolution, where he's changing his style. And I don't think we've really reached that culmination yet. I think when we get there, maybe one or two more fights, we'll really see the fully fledged new version of Max. And that is the version which I'm waiting to see. And when we do see that, I'd love to see that fight against Volkanovski for the fourth time.
And as I'm sitting here, because I'm such a big fan of both of them, honestly, a couple of my favourite fighters to watch, I have to be fair to Max and say, when I was saying Volk was going to win the trilogy, and I was listening to his interviews about how that was him competing on his worst day, but he still managed to win. Max comes out, he does media, he doesn't make an excuse, he doesn't speak about training, he doesn't speak about anything, you don't really know anything, he just says a few nice words and then dips off for another year. But I have to sit here and say, in all fairness to Max, as good as Volk is, and as good as he was on that night, I mean, 50-45 of Max Holloway, that's just a freakish level of Super Saiyan.
The best performances ever.
Quite literally. Yeah. I think the most special performance I've ever seen, personally.
Agreed.
Against a pound-for-pound great in Max Holloway. But there's nothing to say that Max Holloway didn't turn up and have his worst night ever. But that just happens to be our recent memory. So we're just thinking in our heads, 50-45, that's always the case. But it could have been the case Max Holloway had a terrible camp. Maybe he broke his foot or his elbow, couldn't train, couldn't get out of bed, had to go sort out this. Woke up on the day of the fight, felt flat, couldn't get it going, weren't his night at the office. Any one of these 1,000 things, I have to give him the benefit of the doubt and possibly say that that would have been the case, or at least one of them would have been the case. And in a fourth round, I'm not saying that is necessarily going to mean he's going to knock Volk out, but it's not to say they can't have a close fight. We have seen that before. Whether who won is up to you, but I don't know. Who would you like him to see next?
I don't know
Ilya
though,
Topuria excites me.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to quickly make the point before I'll jump into that. I think when you say that maybe he had an off night, I think you can make that argument in a lot of cases. But when he's lost to Volkanovski 3 times, and yeah, the second fight was close, but let's not sit here and say the first and the third were not dominant, because they were,
of course.
right? So to me, I can't really agree with you because it's a clear gap of skill and ability.
Same as Max Holloway with anyone else.
Yeah, true.
We're in unprecedented times.
Hence why
it requires unprecedented fights.
I mean, that's why I want to see the evolved version, though, right?
Yeah,
because
I feel that.
I don't think there's no path of victory ever if you place that that Holloway from the third fight and you put him against Volkanovski. I think he loses every time. I don't see a round where he wins, because you can say, I know we just saw him get a knockout.
It's MMA. I know. I don't agree. I'm at a point now where I just think, I don't know. And you can prove me wrong, Max. And who am I to sit here and say Max Holloway isn't going to go and do the unthinkable? I just can't. That's the reason why I come at it from that angle now. It's not logic necessarily, because logic would tell you X, Y, Z and lead you to a path of rational thought. And I'm 100% with you with a certain part of my mind.
Yeah.
But a majority of me just says, I don't know. Quite possibly Max Holloway, you come out and get a full fight. No one gets a full fight. Max Holloway could get a full fight because he's Max Holloway. And what are you going to do? Keep feeding contenders? Okay, well, we keep smoking them. So it's like, I don't really know what to do. They are the biggest 2 stars nearly in the sport entirely. And then in the featherweight division, people were kind of asking for this full fight. Let's make it. Can't give him Ilya in case he smokes him, and then Volk's got no challengers. It's a mess.
It's a weird one, isn't it? It's such a weird
Does he go up to 155? Someone put into my comments and said Dariush. I said, that is a fun fight. That is a fun fight.
It is. But I mean, we've seen him delve into that. We know he nearly fought
someone
Khabib,
said Michael Chandler. And I said, that's a fun fight. Oh my word.
They're all fun fights, but I think he struggled with the size against Poirier, didn't he? And again, that is Max Holloway of old, though. And as I said, I think the only route for him to beat Volkanovski is the new one. Yeah, and the only route for him to beat Volkanovski is the new version. And I think every time we see him fight, it gives me that inkling, that extra inkling that maybe he's got a better chance. And he's improving every time. So it's a matter of wait and see for me. I think 1 or 2 more fights up there, find the top guys. As you said, Topuria, definitely a chance. That is a dangerous matchup, not just for him, but for anyone.
He has to fight Volk, though, Topuria.
He does. I think Topuria deserves it. And otherwise, Volkanovski's like...
It's not even deserved it. I don't think he deserves it massively.
He's just beating everyone else, isn't he? That's it, really.
It's just he's beating everyone else. And it's like, you can't give him to Max Holloway.
I mean, maybe the Makhachev rematch is there, and then Topuria fights Holloway. Title eliminator. I don't know.
Let's get into the rest of the card. What did you enjoy?
I mean, I first wanted to drop what I didn't enjoy, because, God, we talked last week about Ryan Spann being probably the most frustrating guy to watch ever.
So random.
He continues to prove that, because how he did not get a finish there in that fight, it's so frustrating to see. I'm sitting there and I'm watching Smith bloodied and bruised, desperate, holding onto his leg, onto Ryan's leg for dear life, his eyes bleeding all over the gaff. And he just doesn't, he sat, and then he stands up, they stand up, and it's a 2 mile an hour pace of just slugging, with the occasional 1-2 and no urgency to get a finish when it's right there. And it was so frustrating to watch, because I was thinking back to our prediction. I was like, surely Anthony's not going to come back and take this now, because there's no way he doesn't get a finish. He's got the physical power. He's got the strength. He's got the size and the natural ability. But the fight IQ is, again, it just continues to be a huge problem for him. And he paid the price, because Anthony Smith, he knows, he's been in those wars. He knows how to come back. And that's exactly what he did in that third round. And at the end of the day, I think he deserved the decision. It's hard not to argue. It was a close fight, but I can't sit here and say Anthony Smith didn't deserve to win, as close as he was to losing.
To be fair to Ryan Spann, you say about him not
It's
going for the
just, it
finish or
gets on my nerves.
whatnot. No,
I'm ranting.
no. A lot of people feel the same. The only thing I thought whilst you were saying that is, well, they did go 3 rounds, and Ryan Spann has quite literally never gone 3 rounds. So maybe he was thinking, possibly I don't empty my gas tank and then get finished myself, which what happened the last time, because he's got the loss on his mind of getting finished. So he's going to be a little bit more reserved. And then he probably just held back a little bit just in case it did go longer, which it did. And in fairness to him, we could very easily be sitting here and saying Ryan Spann won that fight. That's a bit unfair to Anthony Smith. My point was that it was just a close fight. It was just an absolute split him in the third.
It shouldn't have been though. That's my point. I think he should have got that finish.
It was impressive from Anthony Smith because he was very much on the edge of it being over for him, and that could have quite possibly been a retirement. That would have been the rematch that he would have lost. There would have been a lot of repercussions on the back of that loss if he got finished there. 55 professional fights.
Wild.
Crazy. 20 fights in the UFC, and he's still in there fighting tooth and nail to every position. Whether he's the most skilled 205er in the division or not, the tenacity and the willpower to win, to come back from that and to win 2-1 was super impressive. And I have to mention that it also was very impressive in such a short period of time. Yeah, because it was true. In such a short period of time, to adapt a different stance into that more Muay Thai stance, which he's never really ever done before. He's 54 pro fights deep into his career. He's 35 years of age. He had every sort of reason in the world not to be able to change and to remold himself. And to be able to do that far in your career is pretty impressive, to be honest. So even though it didn't look like the highest caliber fight, when you sort of have a look at the X's and O's, what was on the line and the sort of adjustments and whatnot, I thought it was actually a really impressive performance from Anthony Smith.
He scored Lionheart for a reason, isn't he, really? That's true. It was a good comeback. It was just, I think if you had someone who had more of the finishing scent, is that the right word? I don't know. You know what I mean? The drive to get a finish and instincts, that's the word I'm looking for. That's not, Ryan Spann. I think that fight would have been over, but
Ryan Spann's a finisher.
We're still in there.
But he's a finisher.
Thing is, he's a finisher when he gets the knockout. But he had Anthony Smith hurt. He didn't knock him out, but he had him hurt. And to not get that finish, I think part of the reason he didn't, in a way, credit to Anthony, was the leg kicks. Really slowed him down. He could barely stand on that lead leg. He did beat that leg up. So that is credit to him. I'm not really sure where Anthony goes from here. I think he's always been in those echelons of the top 10, top 15, but it's kind of...
I think it's fun matchups from here on out, to be honest. I think it's one of those big matchups, big pay-per-views, once every 14 months, potentially, and he gets 2 more. I reckon that's what it looks like for Anthony Smith, just because he's picking up so much work with the podcast. When he goes on the desk, ESPN, UFC, he does a lot of that. Time-consuming stuff. Can't really train as much, makes training a lot harder, flying, travel, jet lag, all these different factors. So I think he's going to lean into there. But with the rest of the card, what stood out to you?
Nakamura. That is, I'm not going to sit here and say I knew him before. Obviously the road to the UFC stuff I'd heard about but hadn't watched. Watching him fight there, the guy's a problem.
Impressive.
So impressive. It just looked. You can really see the levels, right? It was a really impressive performance, just on the feet and on the mat. The only critique I could probably give is maybe a lack of urgency in terms of getting the submission. Came close a couple of times, but didn't really have that instinct to get there. Was looking for an armbar, Kimura, key locks, all sorts of stuff, but was never really. It was one time I think in the 3rd round where he was close to getting that armbar, but
didn't quite have it. The position
didn't quite have it. Yeah, it was close, but. Again, he's a young guy. He said he was humble in his post-fight interview, which really actually impressed me. He was just
he was open
and honest about it.
That was
he said, give me a few more years. He's not looking for a ride to the top. He's not looking for a quick shot for the title. He said, give me a few more years. I will impress you. And I love that because it shows humility. He knows he's got areas to improve on. And those are the people who end up going for gold and do get those titles. And I'm I could sit here and say with a fair bit of not certainty, but I could be convinced that he will be there in the future because he seems to have all the natural athleticism and talent to go far. So I'm excited to see where he goes next.
I don't think Giga Chikadze did anything last night to make me think
I was going to jump on the next as well.
Going to be squeezing those top 5 positions. He did conserve his energy a little bit better. He was more calculated, defensively a little bit better. His footwork moving into the pocket was better. He didn't lead with his head, which sometimes he did, sort of rush forward a little bit. But apart from that, and it was a good win, and it was a tough fight, but I just didn't see anything to say, yeah, Ilya Tapora, Max Holloway, Volkanovski, Josh Emmett even. That's probably a fun fight I'd like to see next.
That's a good fight. I like that.
Ilya, Giga Chikadze, Josh Emmett, I think is the fight to make next, personally. But I don't know if I saw enough. What do you think?
I agree.
Good performance, didn't...
it's just nothing really like
jumped
standing
off the page.
Out as in wow, like you've made the improvements. It didn't feel like he's really, he's 18 months out of the game. You'd think, okay, we're going to see a new Giga, perhaps, maybe just a bit more diversity in his striking.
Maybe some nerves.
Some evolution. Yeah, maybe some nerves, ring rust. That's always a point of contention, but I wanted to see more. And I think that becomes even more apparent because I saw this today that Alex Caceres, he broke his forearm in the first round of one of the first kicks. And I think when you take that into account, the fact that, Chikadze didn't really press the occasion as much in the third round, I think as much as he could have, I think that leans towards, okay, there's still improvements to be made if he really wants to crack that top 5 because featherweight is a shark tank. And I think if he needs to improve a little bit more, I think.
And to be fair to him, I will say it's very easy for me to sit here and say he should have done more. Maybe he could have pushed to finish all of these things.
Armchair analysts, really.
Well, I'm quite literally in my armchair, and I'm getting rid of the other armchair.
I'm in a chair, so I'll go half on that. Not an armchair, but I'm in a chair.
But the reason I say that is because Alex Caceres is a really tricky puzzle. So it's hard to open up in front of Alex Caceres because he's given a lot of different looks from a lot of different angles, whether that's level changes, jiu-jitsu, kicks or punches or spinning back fists. He's showing you a lot of stuff. So in fair to Giga, I think he needed to be a little bit more boxing fundamentals yesterday, a little bit more plodding and just sort of corral him a little bit and get his offense going because he's a really tricky guy, Alex Caceres. Just the way he moves laterally and he kicks from both stances and he's very funky in the way he changes his level. So it's not an easy guy to have in front of you and he does have a lot of finishes inside the UFC. And Alex Caceres, I believe, is 8th or 7th or something like that in the all-time appearances in the UFC. So we're talking about one of the most...
A lot of skin in the game.
Yeah, one of the most vets in the featherweight division. So, yeah, I enjoyed UFC Singapore. It was a touch having it early, that's for sure.
Yeah, it was a weird one, wasn't it? I'm sitting there like 2 p.m. in the afternoon with a coffee. Like,
Billy Goff,
nice, is this what it's like? I missed that one.
Yeah, looked really good actually because the opponent he was coming in against, although to a lot of people, they maybe won't know either name. Both coming off Dana White's Contender Series, but the other fella's a sniper. He's a sniper. He's a young Japanese kid with really nice striking. I know it sounds stupid. He's a welterweight, but he moves very similar to like an old school Conor McGregor. Low hand, southpaw, just sniper left hand. And he's a super skilled guy. And Billy Goff just took him down and just, elbowed his face off. And Billy Goff is a bit of one to watch at welterweight because he's very durable. He's game to fight. He's got good striking, but he's got very good grappling as well. And he's just a bit of a, welterweight just continues to rise into this.
Though, really.
They all do.
They all do, man.
Welterweight
really
has a particular top group
top
of
10
really scary prospects on the rise. You have a look at the Colombian welterweight. You have a look at people like Ian Gary, Hamzat Chimaev, Rachmanov, even people like Billy Goff that I mentioned there. There's so many welterweights at the moment, which is just really, I don't know why that is. Maybe it's just peak and troughs, It's just, it's
just the way it is.
It's just what happens, right? Sometimes one day it'll be heavyweights, crazily enough. It really will be.
We'll see about that. I don't know about like the day light heavyweight division becomes the most stacked. I think I'll probably stop covering the sport for
There's
good
just not
because
that many big
it
bodies
doesn't
in the
happen, does it?
UK.
Yeah, that's true.
They're just
Oh,
not built
actually,
the
I
same
did want
as
to.
other
I
countries.
don't know. We missed Erin Blanchfield. We got to touch on because
Impressive,
I
I thought.
think impressive. Yeah, I not the most. I love that first 5 minutes. I thought the first one was electric, and then after that, kind of faded off. But that was just down to the game plans. It was it's the fight. This is what's going to happen. I think it's so impressive to be 24
Yeah,
years of age and to be the smaller fighter in there and lose the first round and to come back like that and say, okay, I'm not
correct.
done. I'm going to come out against the bigger woman and I'm going to take it to her. And she didn't look offensively with her striking in the second round. It was just the relentless pace. Her cardio was there.
Yeah,
And I think it was either Felder or Bisping that really had picked up on it really nicely, saying, the muscles they carry, carry a lot of weight. Talia's probably going to tire in those later rounds. And that's exactly what happened. Third round, she looked spent. And Erin capitalized on that. She started landing on the outside, hitting her with punches. And then again, just coming in, driving against the fence, looking for that takedown. And she didn't get it. I don't think she got it once, maybe once or twice. But it was just the pace. It was relentless. And it kind of neutralized anything that Talia had. It made me think back to the Edwards Usman trilogy fight in the sense that was Usman's game plan of just driving Leon to the fence and shooting for that takedown and not getting it. But the difference was that Leon was able to capitalize on the feet. Talia didn't have that. And that was really what gave Erin the rounds on the scorecards, not just for the judges, but for me as well. I think it's really impressive. Surely now that's a title shot because
easily.
I mean, who else is there really? I think that was always going to be the title eliminator. I think what was frustrating was the lack of really promotional hype around that fight at all.
It was
I
a
think,
main event
yeah, I mean,
at one point.
sorry, wait, was it?
Yeah.
Was it on Fight Night?
Yeah, it was a main
that's a
event.
shame, isn't it? It's a shame that it was so far down the card, and I think it deserved a little bit more respect
It was on the
in the
main
build-up
card.
than it did get. Yeah, that's something, but I think wish it was higher up. I think you got a title eliminated there. These two of the best,
True.
flyweights in the world. And I'm not sure how that fight goes against Grasso or Shevchenko. We're going to see how that fight plays out on Mexican Independence Day. But Erin Blanchfield's got a lot of time left in this game, so it's hard to see a world where she doesn't really win the title, because if you put it into perspective, let's say she really reaches about 28, 29, and then starts to really enter her prime. That's not another 4 or 5 years. Someone like Shevchenko will no doubt be retired by then. Loads of new talent coming in. Erin's really going to be in her stride by then. So I think I'm not the only one who's had her pegged to be a future champion for a long time, but I think now when you really put into the perspective and you look further, I think it's kind of an inevitability now.
She's very good. She's very, very good. No, like she
Yeah.
is. She just is. It's a bit
That's how I put
scary
it.
because she's an absolute jiu-jitsu phenom. She's 24 years of age. She's having performances that are not just impressive visually, showing good skills. I don't think that this weekend showcased the finest display of her skills, but it showcased something which is almost more important at the top level of mixed martial arts in UFC, which is the fight IQ. It's the ringmanship. It's understanding how to win rounds, knowing when to pick up the pace, how to pick up the pace, when to use more risk, when to use less risk, when to use someone's weaknesses and how. And all these different things that Erin did yesterday. It wasn't the cleanest looking performance, but it was very impressive because Talia Santos, first and foremost, is so strong. She got her grip and her lock under her bum about 4 times. And that is a takedown. If you've got your hands S-lock there behind someone's legs, it's usually always a takedown if it's below the hips because it's so hard to get out of that. But Talia's just done such a good job of just stripping that lock to the top and just bumping that up. She's a really powerful woman. And it would have been interesting to see what that looked like over 5 rounds because, as you said, when you have a look at Erin Blanchfield now, knowing that she's only 24 years of age, she finished that fight yesterday. She was nasal breathing after a fight of that pace. She was nasal breathing in an interview, calmly and collectively just re-going through the fight and breaking down where she needs to improve in a very calm and collected manner. And it was absolutely
It's a
ridiculous
very
to
good
watch
point.
because you start thinking, are we looking at someone in Erin Blanchfield that has the potential to go and do something great in regards to title runs? Can she go and snatch a belt and start improving her, or continue, sorry, to improve her striking as she is and be able to compete with the Talia Santoses? And then when it gets to the ground, she's a whole different ball game. So as her striking continues to get more refined, it's just scarier to the other girls in the division because they're going to treat the canvas like lava because no one's going to want to be down there with her because she's so dangerous. So Erin Blanchard is a bit of a scary prospect. I'm excited for her. Definitely a title fight next.
For sure. Whether she wins it or not, I think that's a different question. But as I said, I think a title, her winning a title is an inevitability. Maybe it's not.
24.
Maybe it's not now, but it could be. But maybe it's not now. But I don't think that really matters. I think, especially with her mentality, and just if you look at the microcosm of just that fight in itself, the ability to come back after losing a
So
round
that's what
and
I'm saying.
coming back,
IQ is
yeah. So even
crazy.
if she does, let's say she does get a title shot, and let's say she does lose, I don't think that's really going to matter. I think
No,
she'll be disappointed, but she will
maybe
come
it'll do
back, and
her
I
a
think she will
favour, if
get a belt.
anything, to be honest.
Maybe, yeah, I agree.
UFC
Yeah,
Paris, what do you think about this one?
um, yeah. I mean, it's
Yeah,
yeah,
let me
yeah.
translate. Don't like it at all.
Nah, I won't go that far. I think there's some good fights in there. I think it's just, I think we're not really at that period yet. I think that's one criticism I have with the UFC in general. I think we need more talent from no, not just not Europe as a whole, because I think we're kind of spoiled for choice in a lot of aspects, but France in particular still really needs that proper representation. I think there's not enough fighters out of there. We're getting there, but against Saint Denis, Fioro, Gane, they're all fighting
That's
on
some high
on
level
Saturday.
talent.
It is, but I'm saying I wish we had more because if you had a like look at the same way we have a UFC London card,
You
right?
got
That is stacked from top to bottom with English fighters. UFC doesn't really offer that yet. We
no,
don't have
I
enough
don't.
French fighters.
I'm
I'm
not.
not.
I'm not. I'm not sitting here saying there's as many great French fighters as there are British. I think there's a lot
No, no,
more
no. Yeah,
British fighters than there are French. But I think if you look at that fight from a French MMA perspective, they'll be pretty excited about that, to be perfectly honest, because I know there's not some massive names in there, but there's some fun skill in that. That William Gomez is fighting, that Morgan
yeah,
Shari from Cage Warriors champs fighting on his debut. You've got obviously Cyril Gane, who's just fought for a belt, let's not forget. Like
yeah.
that's well, he was a champion. So they've got a French champion. Manon Fiorot could quite happily go out there and smoke Rose. Like she's a
I think she might.
very dominant, powerful woman. And Rose is coming up, and Rose has never looked big ever. I don't know. That's kind of a strange move. I'm quite interested to see how that looks, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
But I do think there's some fun fights on there. Cowlan Lotran as well, the Irish Cage Warriors champion, is making his debut on this card as well. So that should be pretty fun.
Am I? I don't know if I'm crazy. Ah, yeah, there is. Yeah,
And he's
you're gonna have to fill
fighting.
me in on him, though.
Yeah, so the person he's fighting as well, remind me his name?
Yanis
Yanis
Gamuri.
Gamori, yeah. So he's a brave fighter. He actually fought someone from the gym not that long ago. Again,
Oh,
debut.
nice.
So these are two debutants. Good kickboxer. And Cowlan's a very, very good striker as well. Hits very hard, game opponent, very good conditioning, pretty much good wherever the fight goes, and a very much pocket rocket style, very much Michael Chandler-esque style, but just at a lighter weight class. That fight will be fun, mate. There's some fun fights on there. And
Okay.
Benoit Saint Denis,
Well, yeah, he's improving, isn't he? And that performance last time.
when
I
you
mean,
see Benoit Saint
which
Denis on a
Bonfim brother was
card,
it? I
no
can't remember.
idea.
But...
Absolutely no idea. Gabriel and Ismail.
No, it was Ismail. It was
Yeah,
Ismail.
I forget
Yeah,
which weight class is which. Bearing in mind they are literally identical twins as well. And
yeah.
yeah, Benoit Saint Denis, genuinely, I always say whenever he's fighting, I say put a little star next to his name because this is someone to watch out for because there's no one who's going to dominate him on the ground at lightweight. There is no one. There is no one who's going to physically impose their will on him at
He's
lightweight.
massive, isn't
There
he?
is no one because he's so physically strong. He's so well conditioned. Obviously, as I mentioned on the card we spoke about him before, ex-army, fighting flipping terrorist groups, mate. And now he's coming in. This is an easy assignment, quite literally, getting to go in front of these people and scrap another fella. So his striking's nice. Like, this is what I was thinking. It's like, his striking's really nice. He's got nice Muay Thai. His kicks are hard. His jiu-jitsu's nice. His chin's ridiculous. A big win. I think he's going to maybe get a knockout win, if not a submission. It's going to be dominant. I really do think it, because he's got his confidence now. And I just think Benoit Saint Denis is really someone to look out for. And I look at him against the Gamrots. I look at him against the Arman Sarukians. And I just think, I don't know what your path to victory is with him there. You'd have to, if you're a sweet kickboxer and you can stay at range and distance management, I think that's your path to victory. Who does that at lightweight around those rankings?
Yeah, you're right. I can't.
I may be
It's probably
wrong,
someone, right? Yeah.
but it's not really.
Off the top of my head, I don't know. Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's not a Sean O'Malley-esque.
That was who he popped into my head. I was like, no, he is literally a bantamweight.
Yeah, but that's what I'm trying to.
Yeah, you're
that's
right.
what I'm trying to fight, because I feel like that's the worst stylistic matchup for him because of the things I mentioned. So I'm really intrigued to see what he does in the lightweight division, actually. But yeah, what jumps off the page to you? What do you think about the main event?
I'm really interested because not just before the fight itself, but what follows afterwards. Because I was thinking the other day, I was just telling my dad about Tom Aspinall because I'm trying to get him into MMA and all that. And I was telling him because there was some odds on him to become heavyweight champion by the end of 2024. And I was like, that's an easy bet for me. But that's another story. But I was saying how I remembered he's wanted the winner of this fight. And to me, I'm not sure. I think maybe if Spivak wins, I'm not really sure that's a fight that excites me after we saw how, good he looked against Spivak. That's a win that's probably aged beautifully as it can get.
We don't need that.
Yeah, we don't need it, really. I think Aspinall beats both of them. And I know we got to stop talking about him every fucking podcast because we love him. But
I talk about him every podcast.
We do. We really do. But I think Spivak might actually surprise Gane here. I don't know. I think it's a pretty close fight, and the odds do reflect that. But I think, I don't know. I think Gane. I think the home advantage is going to be huge for Gane. I think that's if he's going to get the win. I think. You think so? Actually, that's a fair point. I mean, he debuckled, didn't he, against Jones? Really under the pressure, but
where's his mind at?
Yeah, it's a tricky one. I honestly, if this is a fight, I can't really pick. I don't really know. I could go either way on this one because there's a lot of unanswered questions about both of them and of where they've coming from and in recent fights, and it's.
I think as you're speaking, I'm getting a way more profound idea how I see this fight going. I'm getting way more confident in
Hit me with it. I'm curious to see what you think.
When I first looked at this, the logic prevails and tells you Spivak is an incredible grappler and he's not a bad striker, to be perfectly honest. And he will probably be able to get his hands on Gane at some point and be able to get it to the mat. That's what the logic tells you. What my actual mind tells me is Cyril Gane is one of the best natural athletes in the UFC, bar none. I need people to know that. Cyril Gane is one of the best athletes in this sport, bar none. He is a freak athlete. And if you take him back to 20 years of age and give him a blank canvas of any sport, or back to a kid, I should say, and give him a blank canvas of any sport, basketball, football, MMA, rugby, quite honestly, anything you pick, he could go to the top level of it because he's that good, his coordination. So the reason I say that is because I look at the fight with John Jones, where he came out and said pretty much he just felt completely embarrassed. And I've heard people speak about having losses like that before. And it does something to you, just never wants you to experience that type of feeling again. He's there, slumped over, all the lights, John Jones on the cage, double champion, 30 seconds in, choked out. I remember seeing a photo of him in the wrestling room about a week or so after that happened. And in my head, I'm thinking, you get Cyril Gane, been embarrassed on the main stage, been a champion, knows what the lifestyle looks like, now wants it back. Knows where a gaping hole is. It's not his jiu-jitsu. That's actually pretty good for a heavyweight. It's not his striking. That's incredibly good. It's actually sort of his ability to stop takedowns and get off of his back and not spend too much time there if he gets there. So now he's got 2 holes that we know need to fill. Now we take this freak athlete to go and spend a long period of time filling these holes. I think he's going to smoke Spivak.
On the feet, I think is.
I think Spivak's going to try and take him down. I think he's.
Yeah, no,
I
I
just don't
agree.
think
I
he's
think
going to be able to.
he can't hang with Gane on the feet. I think if he does that, he will get caught. I think Gane's so good with using his range, which a lot of heavyweights aren't. He's so good at just
True.
he's such a big guy. He's able to just dominate the space where he needs to,
Yeah.
and he circles out really nicely. But just good distance management, and he will pick Spivak apart. If Spivak's not crafty enough, if Spivak's not able to get on the inside, make it dirty, and get that takedown, I think that's Gane's fight to win, or to lose rather. Sorry.
I think if you're Spivak as well, though, just coming off of what you mentioned, it just raised a good point there. Is if you're Spivak, you're looking at Cyril Gane, the way he fights and the way that he bounces into range, a little bit karate style. I wouldn't say crashes. That's a little bit of a disservice, but he definitely crashed against John Jones.
Yeah.
But if Spivak times that, and if Cyril Gane is still fighting in a way where he is happy to just bounce into the pocket and let his hands go and whatnot, and if Spivak's crafty enough just to stay there once and just tie up, clinch up and whatnot, and then I think he can start getting to work. Then I think it could be a bit more advantageous. I just feel like Cyril Gane's going to leveled up. Spivak's super young, new to the sport, not many miles on the clock, so much room to grow, and I think he's actually going to be a much better version. I just feel like Cyril Gane's going to make those adjustments. I think his hands are going to be nice and low. He's going to be able to dig nice underhooks against the cage. He's just going to shuck him off, and I think he's just going to piece him up, throwing head kicks, teeps up the middle, staying distance, not really crashing in too much. I think he's going to finish him in the 3rd round.
Against the cage? That's where I could envision it.
I think he's going to head kick him, stumble him, and then TKO him.
Head kick?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think he's going to head kick him out of a southpaw stance, like southpaw head kick, and then I think he's just going to sort of stumble him, and then just like a TKO finish. So I think
if I see Gane getting the win, I see maybe it's a 1-2 down the middle. I think he's so good at that. It's nothing complicated. It's simple, but it's effective, and it works so well for him. Yeah. And against the fence, maybe just a barrage of shots. Elbow, maybe. I mean, that's what Aspinall caught him with. Something he won't see, just to finish him off there against the fence. It's a really tricky fight to pick. But yeah, I'm inclined to stay with Gane purely because of how good he is on the feet. And if we see the improvements grappling wise that you just discussed, I think then there's no realm where he doesn't win. And I think having that home crowd again is a huge advantage. I'm not sure. I think he thrives under that. I think it was a different thing under the Jones fight. I think that was more of a product of because you're fighting John Jones as the biggest moment of your
fight,
career.
To be fair, was Paris. So
yeah,
he's done
exactly.
It before.
And yeah, I will say though, he did get clipped in that fight.
Yeah,
Ty caught him and nearly sent him flying. But he came back and he absolutely mashed him up. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Gane as well. I could see. I think because it's heavyweight, I'm more inclined to say a little bit earlier. It's just second round, early second round. Yeah, I could see a stoppage against the fence. Maybe he'll crumple, and then Spivak will crumple from the strikes, and that'll be that. Yeah, and if that is the outcome, I'm gonna have to throw this at you. Where do you think Gane goes from there? What do you think's the move?
Tom Aspinall.
You think so?
Only fight to make.
I just want Tom to get the title shot, but if that's not going to happen, then yeah,
that's
I think Gane is the fight, right?
to make in. When would you make that fight? Not too sure.
Aspinall. Well,
December,
Aspinall didn't really take
Vegas.
Much damage of
try and make Tom Aspinall a big star in America. He's done the UK.
I love that.
You know what I mean?
Oh, under McGregor Chandler, you're talking to me.
You know,
co-main event. Yeah,
co-mains.
You're
big
talking
boy
to
co-mains as well.
You're talking
Cyril
to me.
Gane, Tom Aspinall, big boy co-main, Vegas, massive card.
That's a good amount of time to turn it around. About 4 months. Actually, no, it's less than that. We're at the end of August now. We'll see. It really depends on the damage, how the fight goes. If it's a quick stoppage, yeah, I love that fight. I love that fight. Gane Aspinall.
And then you can just blow up Tom Aspinall's name in America.
Mate, you're talking to me. Yeah, I love that. And I mean, it worked for Leon, didn't it? And
Exactly.
that wasn't planned. I think they set Leon up to lose in that fight. That is a conspiracy theory I will always sit on. Conveniently put that fight in Utah, but we'll never, I'll entertain that on another podcast or something. I don't know, but yeah, that's an opportunity. It's a perfect opportunity there to springboard him, isn't it?
Exactly.
And it's a great matchup stylistically.
And that's when he wanted to come
is.
back round as well. Yeah, stylistically, that's just we
I
need
love
that.
it.
We need that over 3 rounds is actually more fun. It would be fun to see that as a main event, but having a 3-round sprint,
I don't think it'd even go 3. Yeah,
having a 3-round sprint would be pretty fun.
Hopefully, in the future, we'll be talking about our predictions for that because that is a great fight.
Manon Fiorot versus Thug Rose. Bit of a random one.
It's a
random one, actually,
of a fight.
to be
I
honest.
don't really know where this goes. She's not fought in a while. I think it was 280 she fought.
Wow.
I can't remember who she fought. It was under the Makhachev Oliveira. I'm going to double check this because I want to make sure. Oh wait, no, did she fight at the Paris card?
Well, she was meant to be on it. She may have got pulled off it. I believe she had loads of fights that kept getting pulled.
October 22nd. That was 280, wasn't it? Right? I'm not crazy. That's International Fight Week, isn't it?
Mate,
am I crazy?
You can't just start saying October the 22nd and expect me to know what UFC card it is. I honestly don't remember what last week was. I'm not even joking.
Yeah, it was. Wait, no. Why is it? Yeah, UFC 280. I was right. Cool. I'll take that. But she was impressive then. I think she's only going to level up now. It's the question marks are always going to be about the size difference, how Rose is going to do moving up, and whether she's really in it mentally. I think that's always been a story with Rose, was whether she can overcome the mental battle, because that seems to be just, it doesn't matter when she wins or loses. That's always been in the build-up of her fights a constant, right? How she's going to tackle, certain things. Is she really got the drive anymore? Why does she look the way she does in certain fights, etc., etc.? And again, it's just more question marks, especially after that fight against Esparza, which is just one of the, not just the worst, but the strangest fights we've ever seen. And I don't know if she's going to have that hunger.
The reaction
I really don't.
was stranger.
It really was, wasn't it?
It wasn't the fight that was strange. I understand how that happens, but the reaction.
It was a strange reaction, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how this fight goes. I'm more inclined to say Fiora because, again, home crowd. Rose is moving up. She's going to be maybe a bit smaller. Yeah, and I'm worried that in the world, like I'm thinking back to when Joe Rogan said to Brendan Schaub about him retiring. He's like, I think you got one foot out the door, and I kind of think that might be the same thing for Rose. And I really would be happy to be proven wrong here, because I love a comeback story. I love that. But yeah, I think she might struggle.
This is going to be
inclined to say Fiora by decision. That's where I'm leaning towards.
It's going to be a pretty sweet kickboxing fight, I think. I think that's what we're going to see. I think we're going to see a pretty sweet kickboxing match, 4-ounce gloves. I think both ladies are going to be happy to keep it standing. I think that's where this fight's probably going to play out. And it really is just going to be tail of the tape of, I mean, let's not oversimplify it. It's the worst analysis breakdown of all time, but power versus skill, essentially. Because you look at Rose, she obviously has the crazy dexterity in the kicks.
Of course, yeah.
Both stances, such fluid movement, really nice fundamentals in terms of all of her striking setups and level changes. We know that by now. We've seen it so many times. And then you have a look at Manon Fiorot. She's a little bit sort of like more Muay Thai-esque, forward and backwards, hitting hard, defensively not as sound. And she will leave openings. And it's just super intriguing to me because I've never looked at Rose and thought she was big for the weight class, ever. So when she went up, that sort of caught me off guard. But maybe she is cutting a lot of weight and you can't necessarily tell. I believe she always says it's not the easiest at weight cut, so maybe she just fills into her frame really nice and she can actually push her pace a little bit better. And she was knocking people out of that weight class below. So who's to say that she's not going to be knocking people out of this weight class, you know? If you're landing perfect kicks on Zhang Weili and switching her off, there's absolutely nothing to tell me that you can't do that against Manon Fiorot, who's probably going to leave you a few openings. And the more I think about it, the more I do just think she's going to be able to cut a weird angle and a little Bobby Knuckles head kick sort of number off the right hand and just flying one up there, because
I can see that.
Yeah, because I think she's going to get chances to do that against Manon, because
I think ability-wise she wins, right?
Yeah. I think she's just so aggressive, Manon, especially the intensity of that stadium. Such a big name. She wants an impressive win, and I sit here and I believe that Rose is going to be calm and present and see openings if they're there. I really do. I think she's going to be pretty dialed in for this one. And
I hope so.
people say sometimes new weight class is like a new career. Maybe that's new career, new weight class, new mindset. So I'm going to go Rose on this. I'm going to go KO second round.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, it's something I'm gonna do just in the build up to this fight. I think I'm gonna really pay attention to the media build up. I want to see how she's reacting to things just in general, because I'll take that into account, and I think we'll know in the opening minutes of that fight very quickly where it's gonna go. Because, as I said, I think ability wise, you match them up. I think Rose is far superior. She's one of the best strikers the sport's ever seen.
Mm,
She's so technical. Her ability to her timing is is
stupid, yeah.
perfect. Her counter striking is beautiful. So it's, for me, it's not, as I said, it's not a matter of physicality or ability. It's the mental battle that she seems to come across so often, and I worry that might be her downfall. If she's able to overcome that, and she looks like the Rose that walks in at her best, I think it's her fight. It's her fight. I think she wins that pretty soundly. So we'll see. I'm gonna pick Fioro just because that's my instinct. That's just my gut. But I'm curious to see in the build up how that plays out in the weigh-ins, just everything in between up to when that cage door shuts. So yeah, it's an interesting fight. I think if Rose wins that, I mean, considering the state of that division, could maybe even be talking about a title shot, maybe an eliminator versus Blanchfield. I like all those options really. So we'll see. We'll see how
What
that
else
goes.
jumps off at you from that card? Round up a couple to finish off the Paris card.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned earlier about Basharat, first guy
Snow Leopard.
on. Yeah, he
Great name.
I can't remember who it was he fought, but he nearly got caught in a triangle in the last seconds, and he was on my he was on my bet accumulator, and I was shitting myself. But he won that fight, and he looked very good then. And I wish I remembered who it was and what card it was. It was a few months ago.
He's in London at the
Um,
moment. He's training at Top Team.
is he?
Yeah, or he was last week. Sorry. So if I were to
Who,
guess,
Farid or his opponent?
no, Farid Bashar.
Farid,
They
yeah.
train occasionally
That's right.
down at the gym. Obviously, they're mainly in Vegas, but it seemed to me they probably would have went London and obviously flew to Paris because they would have been home. But
Yeah,
yeah, Farid Basharat's like
very
seriously
talented.
impressive. Yeah, so technical. Really, really is. You can see how methodical he is when he's fighting. He really can go anywhere with any weapon, and he's seriously impressive. Who's he fighting again? His opponent's name is
Clayton Rodriguez.
yeah, Clayton. Yeah, so this is the
I'm
thing,
not familiar
right?
with.
Because Clayton Rodriguez is exciting as well. This is the thing. You're just
Oh, it's this guy.
yes,
Yeah, he got that crazy KO, that bomb overhand right. It was against the Australian guy. I don't know what his name is, but yeah.
Shannon
I'm
Ross.
excited now. Yeah, now I know. Now I know.
There's too
Now I'm
many fighters.
excited
There's a
even
lot
more.
of fighters. It's just your memory's got to jog
It's so hard,
sometimes. Yeah,
man.
and
Yeah.
sometimes by name for me, I have to see a picture or at least I get told a fight. And I'm like, oh yeah, okay, because
The fact that that's first on that card is criminal, because that's a great
yeah,
fight.
that really is that's a really high level and dangerous fight for both opponents. I'm pretty excited about that one. Yeah, that one. And then, to be honest, like I said, you've got that William Gomez as well. So he's a French kickboxer, very exciting. He's making his debut. I don't think he's fought yet. Or did he fight? Oh, no, he fought in UFC
No,
Paris last time, sorry.
he's fought
Yeah,
twice. Yeah,
sorry,
he's
he
fought
fought
twice.
in the UFC Paris is not what I meant to say. I meant to say that Callum Lachlan is making his debut, but then also you've got the William Gomez, who's a great kickboxer. So what I was going on to say is there's so many good strikers on this card. So in terms of just like stylistically, it should be pretty fun to watch because there's a lot of fun strikers. So I'm kind of looking forward to UFC Paris, and it starts at 5 p.m, so it's kind of fun.
It's good for us.
Yeah.
I'll never not love a European card purely because the crowd's always gonna go crazy. The atmosphere is gonna be buzzing, and it's also, most importantly, it's a great opportunity for new talent coming off regional promotions from the European circuit. So I can't hate on it. And again, I said last week about having these small fight nights. You know, a lot of guys you don't know is a blessing in disguise. It's a silver lining because you get the opportunity to see these new bloods, these new guys coming through. So yeah, I've got nothing but, I got not really a bad word to say about it. And a lot of these fights, particularly the top two, the Gane and the Namajunas fight, they're good fights, not just stylistically, but in terms of moving the division and sort of to see where the next next fight to make it, because they tie up a lot of loose ends, which I'm happy about, because no one likes a stagnant division, right? No one likes it when things aren't really moving, and thankfully the main and the co-main event in particular are really helping to shuffle that along. You've got contenders fighting each other, which at the end of the day, at fans, is what we need to see. We
True.
don't want a lot of the time you just get talking and then nothing happens. But now, here these two fights we're getting here, which are, I like them. They're
I
good
think the
fights. It's a
rosters are
good
too
fight night.
stacked nowadays. You just get fun fights, and you can't even help it. Along with the
Yeah, I can't hate
matchmaking,
on it, can I?
along with the matchmaking, it's just sort of a recipe for perfection, really. So yeah, that's an exciting one. But that pretty much wraps
Yeah.
us up for UFC Paris and also UFC Singapore. As always, you know what to do. Hit the subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube.
Actually, I will.
Go on.
I've got to jump in quickly. Quick announcement for the.
There's an
Obviously, we
announcement.
know people. Yeah, of course there is, mate. We got next week on a Monday.
Oh, of course.
We have the Welsh Jack Shaw, our first guest episode ever. So that'll be really fun.
Did you introduce him
for about an hour?
Jack Shaw?
The Welsh. Did I say Welsh man or Welsh?
You just said the Welsh Jack Shaw.
He's just Welsh. Bantamweight contender. Is he still top 15? Oh, he's moved up, hasn't he? God, I'm shocking. I'll just let you do this. I've bottled this. Well, he was bantamweight. All right, now featherweight. All right. See, I got to do my research even more now. But we've got him on next week. That would be great. Good chance for us to get a chat in, and after that, I think it'll just be regularly scheduled stuff. Casuals and Counters every Monday. You know where to find us: Spotify, YouTube. Will from Casuals Corner, me from my channel on YouTube, Leo Cooper. Thanks for listening, and peace.